there's two sides to communication. You know, there's that decoding, which is the reading skills,
Right.
you know, and interpreting the code that you have. And then there's the encoding. And you have the, which is reproducing that. And so that's where you're getting that vocabulary and spelling a lot of times, is because that confusion, because when I'm spelling it, I'm putting it back into the code. But when I have to read that word and understand what it means, then that's more the interpretation. Yeah. You can't assume that by learning a bunch of vocabulary words that you can use it well.
Yeah,
That's the problem. So
it's really using different parts of your brain, the
It
encoding and the
is.
decoding. It's very different. So you can find those kids that they read great, but then they can't spell anything. Is that you, Rebecca? But you know,
No
it's
comment.
because
That's my stuff.
Ruth's our editor. But it's interesting because you would kind of think, oh, I mean, aren't they one and the same? But they really are using a different part
They're
of the brain.
a skill you need to develop.
Absolutely.
Like each develop,
And I don't know how many times we've talked to people who are like, oh, my child loves to read.
Yeah.
But they hate to write.
Right.
And that makes sense because it is harder.
They're two different skills.
There's two different skills of the same side.
Right.
Writing something is incredibly, you're doing so many things. You're juggling and trying to get them all in the right place. And so we need to understand that for kids, that you know, oh, you've heard this word before. Yeah, I've heard it. That doesn't mean I know how to use it. But that's the challenge with a lot of language arts skills. I mean, it's the same thing with math, but there's less nebulousness there. See, that's the right word for that.
Good word choice.
There's less of that, right?
Yeah.
Because you have procedures and steps and things and have one right answer.
Yeah.
And that's not the case
With language.
There's correct grammar. You can also bend that. Sorry to, you know.
The world of poetry does it all the time.
Right? Exactly. Thank you.
Yes.
But that's the complicated aspect of that there's structure and there are things to learn and learn how to do, but then all this applying stuff. And that's what these courses help
kids
you do.
Help to apply
is
it.
apply the vocabulary. You know, one of my favorite things to say at work is words mean things.
Words do mean things.
We say that a lot.
Yes.
A lot, yes. And we've got a lot of words. We got mega words.
We got mega words. They're not just little words, they're mega words. They came out with their 3rd edition.
And the covers look so very different.
They're very different
than they did before.
Yeah.
I mean, they're much more colorful.
Yeah. Which kind of helps with the whole, so the yellows go together, the greens go together.
Right.
So there's no confusing what student book goes with what teacher's book, which is nice.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
We're very visual people. So.
And there's still the levels and all of those things.
Still the 8 levels. I've been eyeball deep in Megawords.
Yes.
You have been, because you're going to have a video coming out soon, which is so exciting.
Yeah, kind of going all over what Megawords is. And it's a very systematic spelling and vocab program.
I was going to say, now tell me, Rebecca, is it spelling or is it vocab?
Yes.
Both.
Yes.
Because that's kind of a question.
It is, and this one kind of bridges that gap between teaching phonetic ways to spell mega words. But with these mega words, you kind of also have to know what the word is and how to use it. And so they weave together those concepts very nice. Of the phonetic spelling, but also the definition of the words, using them in context. So that's what I love about this program.
You really get all of that, which is really nice in one program.
Yeah.
So when you say using in context, though, what do you mean? Can you give some examples of that?
So within the teacher's guide, so both of you guys have a student workbook, which is consumable. The student is going to be writing all of their answers in there. But in the teacher's guide, it's lightly scripted. So you will have every single lesson, what to say, how to present it, different ways to present it if you have different learners. But you will run through the definitions of words. And so there's actually dictionary skills that you can implement in here. But then some of the activities in the student books is they have a sentence and you have to choose which word corresponds with that sentence the best out of your word list. And so they're really trying to push the whole idea of using the word that you're learning how to spell within the context that you use words, which is reading and writing.
And it seems like if you learn a new word and you start using it right away, that your retention would be better.
Right.
It would stick better,
right.
you know, because
Now, is this level 2, grade 2?
I was wondering that too.
No.
What is this?
So it is progression.
Okay.
And if your student, say you have an older student who's really just struggling with spelling,
Okay. We
and
get that a lot.
and you just need something to kind of intervene, this is a great program to do that.
So you could use this even in high school?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. They say you can kind of start the program at about grade 4, which is really when you're kind of introducing a formal spelling program to begin with. That level 1, which you have over here, this one is teaching just the basic syllabication rule.
Okay.
So if you have a student who already really knows how to syllabatize, I guess, a word, they can.
Is that a word?
It is now. They can.
Rebecca's dictionary.
They can actually just move from straight into level 2.
Okay.
And then every level is going to focus on a different phonetic theme. So I know book 3 is the schwa sound.
Okay.
So every word in here has something to do with the middle schwa sound.
Okay.
And so they're going to build on each other. So that's kind of what the levels indicate.
And I like that there's a list of words, and then there's review words, and then then you have words for this passage. And that's not formidable, this amount of reading.
No.
Right?
And I like that you open to this page. Every word list, there's about 4 to 7 word list in each book, will end with a reading comprehension section where they'll be reading they'll just read a very short passage that utilizes the words that they just learned, but then words that they've previously learned as well.
And that's not going to freak most kids out.
They don't
That's
look
really-
intimidating.
No,
I will
they're
say
really
that.
not.
You know, if I was a high schooler and I, knew I needed a little help with that, they don't look like they're these big hard books.
No.
They look very approachable.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Yeah, and you work at your pace. You know, so it's you get one book done and it's only the middle of the year. Go ahead and grab book 2.
Okay,
If it takes you a full year to get a book done, that's okay too.
So just
You're really
very
accommodating
flexible.
to your student.
Okay.
So if you have the old edition, can you use it with the new?
It'd be challenging,
Okay.
but not impossible.
Okay.
The content itself hasn't changed. The 6-step approach has not changed.
Okay. Good.
But they have removed some, lack of a better word, triggering words that might just frazzle some kids. So they've removed those words. They have not added any words. But then the activities, if those words showed up in, they just removed those as well. So it's not going to be a one-to-one matchup in all instances.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love this, and we've had a lot of questions about this in particular because of the update. So this one, you said it has vocabulary and some comprehension, and it's all in context,
Yes,
right?
all in context.
Okay. And so it's a spelling and a vocabulary, right?
Yeah.
We've had a few people ask about comparing that with sequential spelling.
With sequential spelling, yes.
And when I first heard that question, I was like, of course they're different.
Yeah.
So spelling and vocabulary, what's the connection for you guys? How do you differentiate? When we talk to customers, how do you differentiate between, of course, when you're learning to spell, you're learning vocabulary, right? So what's the emphasis?
I think it's easy as a parent to get that confused as your kids get older. And you think, oh, I'm doing Wordly Wise or something like that. And you don't realize that that vocabulary doesn't really have any instruction for phonetic structure at all of words. You're really, now if they happen to have a photographic memory, like some do, they might just, study that word and remember it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's really, with most of those vocabulary programs, there's not going to be that phonetic piece that's going to help them, undergird, make sure that they actually become more fluent in spelling.
Yeah, the spelling is giving them the tools to spell the words that they are learning.
Okay.
And do you think
There
this
we
is
go.
more of a challenge in today's world with texting? Because
autocorrect and
I think
made up
that-
Or
words.
just talking into your phone.
I
Come
mean,
on.
you see that
Yeah.
constantly. And, even for myself sometimes, I think, gosh, I don't know if I'm as sharp with spelling as I used to be. Because it seems like we shorten things and we're always, speaking quickly on text. And that changes our system, the way that we do life changes a little bit, our vocabulary.
Yeah.
And I find myself not using as big of words. And so I think, especially in today's world, vocabulary and spelling are important because we're not doing it as much.
Yes,
And we
yeah.
don't want to lose it.
And that's one of the reasons I like what IEW does. We've got new IEW level.
Yeah. that
And
looks
Ruth, you've been
theme
looking
based.
at this a lot, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I sure have.
What
Yeah.
age is this for?
This is
Ruth?
grade 6.
Grade 6. Okay.
Ish. I think we provide a grade range. This is a new investigations in writing, and you'll notice the Hillsdale College.
Yeah.
We think of this as a writing program, right? You're applying the structure and style techniques
Right.
with you're reading different kinds of things, and you're looking, you're writing about different kinds of things, but you're still using the same techniques.
Right.
And so this has some cool themes in it. There's the Dead Sea, there's the French Revolution. I mean, it's all over.
So it's kind of
Vivaldi.
history based? Is it mostly
Yes.
history based?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. And there's the Amazon as well. So we're all over the world.
They're investigating
And time
everywhere.
period. Yeah. So we've got some really interesting things for grade 6. Okay. And then they always include vocabulary. So periodically,
I do love that
this
about
is the
IEW.
vocabulary list. And that is also pulled from the content here. So they are having to learn those words. They're seeing it in context. And then they're quizzed on it periodically. Okay? So shall I read some of these?
Yes, please.
Cartographer.
Oh,
okay?
wow.
Menacing. Catastrophic. Insinuate, which I think my boys would have loved that word. Meticulously. Okay, not just
They're
meticulous.
good words.
Yeah, invigorating, strenuous, protagonist. So they're
I would like
challenging.
to show
Yeah.
kind of this.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
challenging words, but they're brought out of the context, so you know how they're to be used,
Yeah.
and then you get to use them in your writing.
Yeah.
So that's a cool way to do
It really
vocabulary.
is, yeah.
Because it's I was always just memorizing words, but you have to know what to do with them.
What? Yeah.
I think
Right.
that's how in the old days.
Thanks a lot.
I'm pretty old.
There's no surprise
I
here.
remember that we used to do that. We used to go to the dictionary.
Yeah.
So we would be reading a book, and if we came across a word that we had no idea what it meant, you'd kind of try to contextualize what it meant. Like, I think I kind of know. And then you'd run to the dictionary, and you'd look
Yes.
at that word and be like, oh, I get it. And you'd go back to your book and be like, I know this word now.
We had
So-
dictionary class.
Did you?
Yes.
I didn't know that was a
Yes.
thing. Really?
During our library
Oh, my
time, we'd go to
goodness.
the library. The librarian would teach us how to use a dictionary, a thesaurus, an encyclopedia, and the
Wow,
card
that's
catalog.
I did not know that was a
Well,
thing.
my mom was an educator, so any time at home was like dictionary
Yeah.
class.
She probably had him right there to grab at any time.
Yes.
It's one of those ideas. This is how I kind of talk to people on the phone about spelling and vocab, because you had
Okay.
asked that earlier.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same thing with phonics and reading. They really do. They're like different sides of the
Yeah.
same coin.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
They really
going
go
to strengthen
together.
each other and bleed into each other.
Exactly.
And so to explain that to people in that way seems to kind of click for them when they realize
Yep.
they are kind of one and the same, but they're doing a different function. They have a different purpose.
And so you've talked about a program that's got both of those things going on. They obviously have to spell the words correctly with this, but then there are times when we just need to learn about spelling. And SpellingYouSee has been a crazy
Yes.
Popular program.
Yes, it is.
And
Yes.
this is the most recent of the level C. Heads up, they're going to be changing levels D and up, and then they're going to
They'll
and
come
do
back
a
to
little bit of
C.
tweaking on
Yeah.
C. But they're using these developmental levels to help students. They're still going to have that same engagement and all of the things, but they're really focusing on a child's development in learning to read and spell and work with words.
Yeah,
Right?
and I love
that's
how
really
they
why.
work with words in this program. It's not just a list of words. They're using them in context.
You're engaged with it every day, and that's really the best way to use vocabulary. And so a crazy word will come out of my head, and I'm thinking, well, that's the best word for that purpose,
Yeah.
and then I have trouble thinking of a different one because that's why there are words, is because
For a purpose.
for a purpose.
Words mean things.
It's
They
so
do.
important for reading comprehension too. So many kids today are struggling with reading comprehension, and we hear that a lot. And reading comprehension, a lot of that is being able to read and kind of picture what you're reading, in your mind. And if you don't know what the words mean, you surely can't picture what's going on. So I think a lot of kids are just, they're reading through these passages, but they're not really understanding a lot of the words, and therefore it's just really hard to comprehend. So it will really help with that as well, which is a great thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So all of these programs are ones that are tried and true, and we always look at a way. I mean, I think as the publishers and educators, we always look at a way to make it a better fit for people.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you, Rebecca, on this. Now, would you say that this is good for kids with learning struggles, maybe dyslexia or dysgraphia?
Yeah,
Processing
so
issues.
With that teacher's edition, this is a program that was catered to the school system.
Okay.
And so they've equipped teachers in the teacher's edition of how to tailor the program.
Okay.
So if your student is really struggling in one area, like they're really struggling with the schwa sound, they'll provide different activities to kind of help create more Velcro.
A differentiation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the teacher's edition is very vital to this program if you have those struggling learners and just need a different approach.
Because sometimes tweaking it just a little bit for that child that's struggling
unlocks
to get
it.
unlocks it,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they get it. So that's good to know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if you have questions about language, I guess, and
us a
how
call.
to
And
how to
words.
tweak. Oh, we will talk words all day long.
Yes, we will.
Absolutely, but it's so important for kids. So,
Yeah.
text in, send us an email, call
Give us a call. Yeah.
We love
to chat.
and
Yes, we
it's,
do.
It's for free.
Which is
Yeah,
nice.
which is nice. So we love talking to you.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Yeah.